For this last example using a while loop, we're going to talk something about sentinels. What is a sentinel value? So let me run this because that's the easiest way to show you what it does. It says enter an integer. The input ends if it is a 0. So I'm going to put 5. I'm going to enter another integer, 6. I'm going to put 7. And then finally I'm going to put a 0. And it says the sum is 18. So it added up all these numbers. 5 plus 6 is 11, plus 7 is 18. And 0 told the program that I want to stop entering integers. So the input ends if it's 0. 0 is the sentinel value. That's the value we're checking for that's going to tell us that our loop needs to end. So let's look at how this code actually works up here. We have a scanner. We have a message to the user saying enter an integer and that the input ends if it's a 0, and we ask them to get the next int. Okay. And then we have an integer to keep track of the sum. Now this is a special kind of variable that we use quite often, and we call it an accumulator. Okay, so this is a variable where we're going to keep adding things onto it to get a running total of the things that are entered. Okay, so we're going to use this accumulator called sum to store the total every time this loop executes. We're going to add whatever the user typed in, we're going to add it onto sum. So you can see here I say sum plus equals data. That's the same as sum equals sum plus data. We've talked about that in the past. So we're adding the value that they typed in to the total sum. But this is happening in a while loop, and we're checking here that data is not equal to 0. And 0 is that sentinel value we talked about. You remember, like a sentinel is somebody who stands guard. It's standing guard, watching out for this certain value, and when the value comes up, we do not want this to be true. So as long as the data is not equal to 0, we're going to execute the loop. But once it is equal to 0, we're just going to end the loop and print out the sum. Okay. So inside the loop, notice outside the loop we get the first value, and then inside the loop we do it again. We ask them to enter an integer using the same statement that we did before. Notice down here that we say data equals input.nextInt. So we're using our scanner to get the next int, storing it in data. But up here is where we declared data. We don't put the int again down here. We're using the same variable. We're reusing it down here. We don't have to declare it again, so we don't have to have an int there. So this will keep running until that detects that the sentinel value has come up, and then it will continue past the loop, print out the sum from our accumulator variable where we've been dumping the total every time the loop runs.